so raise your hand.
Thank you all for your service.
Can hear you.
Yeah, I see to be on Zoom. Let's see, John King, you hear us okay? You got it?
I can hear.
All right, thanks.
All right, so the first order of business tonight is for me to go out here. So, let me go ahead and,
Well, you got some remarks to say at the end of this thing. Well, you can make it whenever you want.
okay, before we start, I'll go ahead and tell you all, it's a great honor to be the president of one of the most radio functions in the country. And I'm going to become a dear relative and haven't been in Richmond for 10 years, 12 years now. And have been entrusted with the leadership of this club. It's a great honor for me. I hope that I've managed to do some good for it. And I think that most of the credit here goes to you all remember for having all this thing together for the last 3 years. To try and find interesting challenges that we had to deal with. It's the fact that we're all here tonight, both in Zoom and in the room, speaks volumes the quality of the members of this club. So that's my closing remarks. Again, it's been a pleasure and an honor to have served you all, and I hope that I can still be of some use to you all as a member of the board. Thank you, John. Thank you. Thank you. I think at this point I turn it over to Dave.
Well, I would, but David can't be here, so let me turn this around and try to do this maybe from the side where. Can you all hear me? John, I ask you again, can you hear me okay? John King?
Can everybody still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's a little hard to hear everybody else. It was hard to hear John. There's kind of like an echo and he was kind of far off. I can hear you real well.
Okay, then we got this microphone on here. That's yes. All right. So most of you have this that is the installation of officers. Usually this is done at a banquet. And so, the president gets a banquet committee together and they do we wouldn't have a banquet. So Wynn and I got together and said, what are we going to do? So we decided to go to the 5 most recent presidents. Sad to say, the 5 most recent presidents who are alive, because we've actually lost 2 in the last 10 years. And said, well, we'll put it together. So you see the list of those. Turns out that David Robinson, wife was in an automobile accident. She's okay, but it means she's doing a whole lot of stuff and could not be here tonight. Whether we'll see him on Zoom or not, I don't know. But anyway, he could not be here tonight. So, so the story is, introductory remarks are just tell you that we decided that's probably the such a way to do it. Next year, I'm sure we'll do a banquet and the president will figure out a committee together to do the banquet and do all that sort of thing. Okay, so the first thing we wanted to do was to give, to present some certificates to the folks who did the stuff. This was a tough one. 3 years of having to put up with the pandemic to figure out what to do, how to bend the bylaws a little bit, how to get things done. So everybody worked really hard. I've got to say that John really, the president of the club, one of the toughest things the president of the club has to do is find a speaker every year. And he did that all through this whole mess. So we made up some certificates to thank you all. Thank you. Basically, they say thank you for your special dedication and service as in the case of Alan, he's not here, vice president during the pandemic. Hey, Bert. Yes. Why don't you hand it to him and I'll take a picture of you handing it to him. More. We're gonna do it this way. We've got Alan's not here. So on May last week. David's not here. I tell you what, there's not looking at you.
Hey, Bruce.
Yes,
I'll see Alan tomorrow.
good. I'll just refresh it. Ken is here. So our treasurer saw us through all this. Yeah, well, when we turn it over, when we turn over to Rick, I think we can go back to the minutes and everything. Does that make sense? Okay. Robin's not here. Okay, and Joey's not here. So there are two of our directors. Tom, Hubert, one of our directors. And also one of the past presidents. And who is here? There's Jim. It's kind of hard to miss. So, John, you already said what you wanted to say. And Tom, you were going to introduce the new directors and officers, right? Tom, you would do the introduction? Yeah. Yeah. Your camera is here waiting for your appearance, and so is your microphone. And I'm going to crank it up a little bit so it's a little higher. If you're a tall guy. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Bruce, while you're at it, can you focus again? The image is a little blurry.
You gonna do it from there or here?
I can do it right there.
All right, so let me, there's a little focus thing on here.
Oh, my gosh.
So this is the recording it for posterity, so no pressure.
Well, I'm not worried about that because the rest of the guys on these nets and everything, they train me well.
That's right. And this you got.
With the next one.
Okay, I guess it's focus are gonna get you multiple formats. Go for it.
Hi. I've been asked to be the presenter of the police officers for 2022, 23. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'll tell you, first of all, Rick Wall. Rick, you know, I've met you before, but my apologies for not connecting you with the name here. But you know, one of the things that I try to look for bios on anybody on the list. Nobody puts those in the RZ. What I'm going to say is, I found out from talking to Steve that he was telling me about you too, being such good friends in the past, and our board clouds and all that. I was going to ask you know, everybody to say a piece or two about what they've, you know, how they became a ham, how long they did, and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I put some of that in the newsletter, but I got into radio when I was about 6 years old. And Lloyd 6 fans for radio, and I still had that, and I listened to the far away game broadcast stations. And I got into trouble with listening to the Silvertone radio, and so I got my first exposure to hands and to hear hands on AM on 55 meters with a famous guy at Pete of Correct, Pennsylvania, did the who I think just passed away recently. And then I got into CB, with a bunch of my friends around. And then I got into low power broadcasting. When I was in school, I built a transmitter to play music for my friends there in Charlottesville. And I got into scanning, but I didn't get a license until my first job in 1980. And I met another guy there who was a ham. He helped me get my novice license. In fact, in those days, it was a lot harder to get a license because they didn't have any of this online stuff. So I did it mostly by myself. I set up my first station by myself. Did stupid things. But when I took my general exam, I had to go to the SEC office in Norfolk, take that from North Carolina. So things have gotten a lot easier, but over the years, I've been to extra. I think in the newsletter, I talk about things on most of it, but then personally, it's casual HF operating. I like to build antennas and think about propagation. Got my toe in the VHF, UHF weak signal area and the satellites. And, so I've tried just about everything in ham radio about once, at least once. I'm not an expert in anything. What I haven't done so far is the very low frequencies and the microwaves, so that's something that I can do in the future.
Well, good. Well, thank you very much. But anyway, thank you so much, Jeff. I think. That'd be very nice to hear. Right, and Daryl Basinger, WW4F, Daryl, you know. The nets that I participate in, 2 6-meter nets that I get involved with the 75 and D-Star with Larry on 730 on Tuesday. But anyway, his name comes up a lot of times with some of the restorations that he does and some of the stuff. You gotta look at some of the stuff that if you can access his stuff. Go.
Well, you can look on QR7, I do have the vintage station.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
But, you know, I don't know how many, I guess y'all know about a little bit about everything I've been there. And that's what made it spill. So,
Okay, I was just looking at the newsletter over the little document on the back, and I realized that it was in Master Diploma that I served with CT. And that goes back 20 years. So I'll probably need to be retrained. It's been so long ago. This is Mel. I served as a director with Mel. So I remember when Ian was president, that I led a few meetings. So I remember that.
Yep, I was secretary and all that back then.
But I came to the club in '99, and as I had a technician, and I wanted to upgrade. So through the club, took classes with John Ford. At that time, he was one of the instructors. Mel Ford, Mike was teaching the code at that time. So I was able to upgrade to advanced. Yeah, no, Mike. Okay, Mike was teaching code. Mike was teaching code. And so Mike, right? Yeah. So through through the club, I was able to upgrade and made a lot of good friends. Met a lot of you through the club, and 20 years friendship and success. So
We see a lot of common ground.
I look forward to serving the club in 2023.
Oh, man, that's fantastic. But I haven't been a hand for maybe 25 plus years, maybe 30. But some of these other guys that I talked to in the nets and everything, I learned a bunch of stuff on them. I see some of the equipment stored and everything. I said, wow. So anyway, thanks very much, Sharon. Go to Dave, because of him being in executive. So, but David, I've had dealings with him. It's always a pleasure to see him come, chat with him. And, just a wealth of information on all these guys. And I'm sorry to see Ken, of course. If I were reading anything on regarding anything like that, or any questions about.
There you go, that's good, now they can see you.
In any case, we're doing all that because I'll tell you, you're the one that so.
I've had a lot of fun doing it. In one of the classes had signed up. I got it. And I went, yeah, we did. So I changed it for classes, and I've done the same thing now for memberships and renewals. And I have gotten a lot of feedback, a lot of positively not. Thank you that you have that. I have processed it. I had a lot of fun doing it. Tried to automate it so that I'm actually a lazy person. So if it's a repeated task, I tried to automate it.
it would make, the other good news is I ever not become, I have documented.
I'm sorry, this is Jim W4PAR. I'm sorry to interrupt, but could I ask everyone who has a mic who's on Zoom to please make sure your mic is muted because something is interrupting and I cannot hear the presenters. Please make sure your mics are muted. Thank you.
That's what this is.
Yep, go for it. You're.
So next one,
Okay,
everyone
You-
except Bruce.
you
Everyone
should be set now.
You said, now I can say it again.
Yes, well, I'm gonna ask John King. Can you hear us now, John? The answer is yes.
Thumbs up there.
Yeah, and they want you to do it slow motion.
Slow motion.
Slow. Oh, gee, the turtle bit, huh? That ought to be interesting. Okay, well, Ken, you want to repeat what you said there for the audience?
I was basically just saying that, a lot of the stuff I have, upgraded, give positive acknowledgement when people send us money. It used to go into a black hole. And so now people get an email back that said, hey, I've gotten your money, I processed you, you're into class, you're in the club, I renewed, whatever it might be. And, a lot of people have sent me emails back thanking me for that positive acknowledgement. And, so trying to improve a lot of the stuff that we do. I also help with Bruce on the website.
Actually, he does the website. I just kind of assist him. I don't do the content, and he does the technical stuff.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of fun. We moved the website from one place to another. It also gave us the ability to activate emails for the officers. So you can now send an email to president@rarcclub.net or vice president, secretary, regular, down the line. So that's on the website. So that, and then there's one for the board, if you want to send it to everybody on the board. That's the whole thing. So
Yeah, I see it right here.
try to help out so that if people want to communicate with us, they have an easier way at least to reach it. And for the officers, you're not exposing your real email address. So sort of a benefit for everybody.
You know, with the amount of money that the club has to be able to do, you know, keep that in focus on and everything and correct. I appreciate you for that because that's great.
Yeah, well, the one thing I did when I was treasurer is I did convince the club to spend $50 for a very cheap actual accounting package. And so we actually now have an accounting package that we actually use to keep track of the money and everything. And that allows me to go back and say, hey, how much money did the school make last year? How much money did we have to spend to have tape out? Whatever it is that we want.
Yeah, and that means a lot to a club there, you know, stay focused on it. Thank you very much. Okay. I've ever met you. I think you must be Lauren. You may as well come up here with me because, hey, you're gonna be in the line of life. But no, I've never met this lady, but I've probably seen her on the Zoom. On up a little bit more. Okay, I see it now, I see it. But anyway, Lauren, you know, I didn't introduce myself in the first place. I always assumed it's somebody. My name's Tom KG4BIZ. And you probably heard me on the Zoom minutes, or maybe, have you ever gotten on any of the 2-meter or anything like that? Not yet. Okay, well, in any case, tell us where you come from in regard to amateur radio.
So, well, thanks, nice meeting you. So I'm Lauren, WD4FMG. I've lived in Richmond about 34 years now, but I grew up in Northern Virginia. And I got licensed while I was in high school as a novice back in '77. So I was active for a few years and then went off to college and kind of fell away from radio and then moved to Richmond. back in, I think, 87. And got back into radio briefly in the 92, 94 timeframe and was a member of this club in 92 to 94. But I don't remember anything about it. I don't think it met here. And then I upgraded to general back in 92, 94, and I upgraded to extra last year. So the pandemic brought me back to radio.
Yeah.
And so my interests are HF primarily. And I've received a lot of help from certain club members, Bruce, Kim. They took my calls when I was looking to get back into radio and helped me out. And so that was much appreciated. And so I've been looking for ways to try to give back to the club to thank them for their assistance.
Well, thank you so much.
So I'm working with Alan on the VE.
Gotcha,
testing.
gotcha. See, that's another facet of it.
Nice
Well,
meeting
thank you. Nice meeting you very much, certainly appreciate,
Look forward to my working with my new friends
gee,
here.
that wasn't hard. Okay, I guess the next one is Armin. WQO. Oh, he's way back here. He's another one, you know, he and I converse a lot, and between him and Steve, they form with the some radios and everything that they're building from base up there. But Armin, there you go.
There I go. Let's see, I probably started about the same time Rich did, probably when I was fairly young, brisk and such, that kind of stuff. And then when I was in high school, I discovered in my father's basement an old, I think it was a Philco AM shortwave radio. Listened to that, and I didn't know what I was listening to particularly, but they were on the 40-meter band, I believe it was. There was a group out of Vermont, because I'm originally from Massachusetts, and there was a group out of Vermont called the Green Mountain Net that met, I think, every couple of nights at 7 o'clock. And once I heard that was all AM. And that got me interested, but I was still in high school. Through college, there was no time for that. But when I got out of college, and probably 2 years after college, because it was 75 that I finally got licensed as a novice, then upgraded immediately to tech and then to general. And I stayed general for years and years until I moved down here to Richmond in 2010 and took Bruce's course and advanced to extra. So I've been a club member, I think, since 2011, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I've been the newsletter editor for the last, I don't know, 8 years, something like that. So that's how I got here, and that's where I am.
Well, Armin doesn't live about 3 or 4 miles from me. And, you know, he's a great deal of help. Matter of fact, I'm working on a little Pixie PR radio, and he sent me little parts, brought me some little parts there. And on the board, he gave me some components, you stick in the board and plug and unplug these crystals. So stuff like that is what I thank everybody. You know, if I need something and I don't know it, I'm not too proud to ask, even though it might be kind of strange, that you should know that, you know. So, but anyway, stuff like this, I appreciate.
And that gets stuff on my attic.
Oh, big stuff, to get rid of something real heavy.
That's right.
Armin, thank you so
All
much.
set. Thank you.
Okay, we have Steve Bowles. I think he and I we get on 6 on Sunday, Monday night on 80, and you're not on the 2 meters.
Could I just make a comment that Steve is the president's director that got selected? People may not know that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
People may not know the president. I got to keep for a long time.
Yes, yes. The accolades.
We've been to some wild places together. Good news.
Okay, Steve.
Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the group. And John, thank you very much for your service. I appreciate that. I'm a relatively newbie to the club. I guess I joined at about 16. Long story short, like Richard, I started off with a crystal radio. The difference was, because of my father's job, we were posted to Athens at that time. Dad gave me a crystal radio and a 338 telegraph key and proceeded to teach me Morse. That was a lost cause. Anyway, fast forward a little bit, it was 1970 when I was licensed as an artist. I've been licensed continuously as an artist. Licensed continuously since 70. Went in the Navy, and the Navy said, like, oh, you've got more skills. Wonderful. We have to use more skills. So they sent me off to communications technician school and probably have to copy more too. So I did that for a number of years with the Navy. And then I did the typical veterans thing at the end of my enlistment. I came home, got married, went to school, had kids, put the radio on the shelf. And that's pretty much finished up. I never let my license lapse. In 2016, thanks to I upgraded to the next class and joined the club and I enjoyed it very much. Am I qualified? Not in the least. I like radio, I like talking to people, and I like building things probably more than I actually operate. I was doing strictly HF, nothing above 6. I believe in the true digital. I don't believe more code and enough. But I like doing it. And I'm looking forward to meeting and working with all of you. And I love talking to people. Thank you so much. Richard, we're on
Okay, and the last, whenever John asked me a couple of years ago about being one of his directors, I accepted, and I always tried, John, to give you honest feedback, and I like to think that I've given, kept it as honest as possible. But John, I want to thank you so much because you've added so much to the amateur radio world, and any other. I've never been there. Shame on me because he's right around the corner. The museum he has in his home.
We'll see.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, if you haven't been there, really, you need to go. And I'm saying that from what I heard, not what I've seen.
Everybody's welcome. Oh, yeah, it's been a pleasure working with you.
Thank you, and I wish you wellness in the future there, and I guess that, I don't know. Anybody that's taken these offices, they should understand that I started out as secretary, director, president a couple of times, and whatever. But that's what keeps the club going and how it's built and everything. And your knowledge is passed on to other people to keep this small organization going. And I want to thank you. And by the way, before I hang up there, the vets were acknowledged, before we got started there. And I too want to thank you, even though I was never a vet. But I consider this, I went to a store, they asked me if I am a vet, and I said, no, but I'm a veteran of life because I've seen this, I've been through a bunch. But thank you guys that have, served there from me to y'all. With that being said, I don't think there's anything else that I gotta do except turn it back to, Bruce. Is there anything else that I should be doing?
You're an
Okay, all right. I hope I did what,
House is going to install up.
All right, well, yeah, we're gonna do the official swearing in and administering of the oath. So let me get all the new officers and directors now. Stand up here behind me so everybody can see you on camera. And
Single file behind it.
well, I can move the camera. That is possible. I'll be back. I want you to see this. All the young faces here, a number of years ago.
Young faces are not something we have.
But we did have a director who was 15 years old. I think Austin Thomas was a director for a year or two, and that lowered the average age of our membership considerably. Without him, we would have been way up there in pretty high numbers. In addition to the many things that Bruce does for the club,
a lot of what you don't know about. He's also sort of the unofficial historian and archivist of important documents. And when we were talking to him last week or two about the ceremony tonight, he said, do you have the oath of office that we administer? I said, no, but I did this a few years ago and I was able to wing it and nobody complained. And then the next day he said, I actually found the written oath of office that we used. I think this was in 2010, was when this was used for dates out. So I'm not winging it tonight. I'm going by the book tonight. We're gonna do this, and I'm gonna ask all of our class of officers and directors here to raise your right hand and repeat after me. I'm gonna say this slowly. I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties of my office.
that I will faithfully execute the duties of my office
And will represent the members of the Richmond Amateur Radio Club.
and will represent the members of the Richmond Amateur Radio Club
To the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Yay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right, yeah. You got it.
So we need to talk about the most important tool that you have here. And this is the real call, which is based upon an ancient Far Eastern torture device. It is the most feared tool used within the enforcement of amateur radio. Just speaking its name invokes fear. The first picture of this device was published in USP in 1919. And they have remained as part of the ARO directory board since. I can attest to its power. I've used its power. I have stopped for trunkers just by waving it in the air. I've made these start, not a gibberish. And I've almost, not successfully, gotten people to stop talking about politics and their hates and pains on TV news. It's just not good enough for that. But it can be used for good and evil. Sometimes both at the same time. I encourage it to use liberally and hope that it helps you. Good luck. Okay. Anyway, thank you again for that, and I again wanted to really thank. John already? Who? John?
No, he's right there.
He's high.
He's high.
I also wanted to thank John for, I think, a tremendous effort to keep this club going during the very difficult challenging times. And people who know John know that he has struggled with tremendous personal health burden that I think most of us would leave the house. And that isn't keeping John down, so I appreciate everything you have done for us, John, under the difficult circumstances, and hope you're around to help us out. I also want to give the Wizard of Oz award to the that man behind the curtain, who's Bruce McAllister. You know, he does so much for this club. I appreciate his advice and counsel, and it's great to have someone like Bruce helping me out and behind the scene.
And my advice to him was, given his medical background, to be able to use the bullphone very well.
It's pretty I'm delighted to see how many people are here in person tonight. I think this is probably the most we've had in 3 years. I expect. Yes. So I encourage and want to encourage people to come in person, because a lot of what we used to do in the past was hands-on and bring in the radio and people can touch it and look at it. I understand some people can't travel, or some people have health concerns, and I guess for the time being, we'll maintain a virtual presence that continues to record the meetings in the past, and that doesn't allow participation, but at least directly, but it does allow people to see what's going on. So I'm delighted to see so many people back here. Now, someone alluded to the fact that we're old. I think some other Ken told me that the median age in this club is 69.
Yes.
We're just getting on up there. And I know there are people who take the classes here, there are people who take the licensing classes and they get a technician license. But I don't see any of those people here right now. I know that a lot of those are younger people, but I think that with amateur radio, it's daunting to go
from the step of being a tech and having a valve thing to the next step, which I think for me personally, HF operating. Now, I understand that some people do only FM repeaters, and that's fine, if you can come, but it's a big hurdle to take that step to HF. You're buying the equipment is a hurdle, it's a lot of money. And then, when I was a novice, I set up my station by myself, and then I figured it out, but it would have been helpful to have someone help me do that. So it's daunting to get set up, and I think there are ways, even an entry level, so-called entry level radio, a new one is going to cost over $1,000. Now there's used equipment out there. Certainly at entry level, you don't need the waterfalls and spectrums that you come to fall in love with, but I think there are ways that you can be familiarized with HF without pumping down a lot of money. One way that I think is the software defined radio. And there's something called an RTL dongle, which was developed in Europe as a digital TV tuner that some guys diddled with it. And so it could become a broadband receiver. And some of them require up conversion. And then there are commercial versions of software defined radios that can be had for under $200. And those cover from 10 kilohertz to 2 gigahertz. The entire spectrum, you use it on your computer, it has a waterfall, it has a spectrum, and it has all the demodulation, but it's pretty good. You can antenna to it. It's not, well, some of the commercial radios are software defined, but these introductory ones, at least you can find out what's on there, what they talk about on there. Is that something I want to do? So I think that's a way to introduce people to it. And also even a portable shortwave receiver is the way. That's how I got interested in amateur radio, just by listening to shortwave stations and hearing what they do, because I wouldn't want to plunk down a lot of money and have people put wires up in the trees or whatever, but I don't really want to do this. So I'm going to find out what it's all about. In this club, there's a lot of expertise. I don't know personally who's an expert in what. And so what I'm going to do for the next newsletter, similar to what Jim did, he was president of RARC, and send around a questionnaire or a survey to find out what people are interested in. I'm going to list everything I can think of in amateur radio. And I have two questions. One is, do you want to learn about this? And can you teach it? And so once I gather that information, I would like to, in the directory, do you have an online directory?
No,
I think it would be nice to have an online directory.
the biggest thing we have is that we haven't, spammers. And people will steal the email addresses, and we've had several cases when John was president that they said John was in trouble and he needed you to go out and buy a gift card and.
Well, what I would like to do, whether it be an online directory or paper directory, is have a correlation with it. I'm gonna put up an antenna. I want to learn about HF. Who do I know? So I would like to associate a name, a call sign, contact information with the skill, and try to, so people can learn it, and particularly for the brand new people. So I'm going to try to come up with that. And again, I want to encourage the people to be here in person, but it's about learning, and we have a huge amount of expertise in this stuff. I just don't know what everybody has. I know what I don't have. But some people, there's no such thing as a stupid question. So if someone has a radio question, if I can't answer, then there are plenty of people around here who can. So next month, we're going to have bring in equipment that you want to give away, trade, or sell. And I think Bruce said that if you didn't want to do any of those things, if none of those things happened, that we would somebody come by and take it to the dump or dispose of it.
No, I'll tell you how to get it.
I think dump myself, but I'm just saying.
I'll get to the electronic recycling to get to that point here.
So anyway, so people bring in their stuff. I think we're going to set it up with the tables here. Not going to have a Christmas party this year. We can try to get rid of some stuff. And we can talk more about, moving forward for the future. I think starting in January, we'll have a regular scheduled programs. I think that Bruce and Nicholas are on the speakers committee. Who else was that?
And Daryl.
Daryl will volunteer with 3 slots. He picked up a lot of stuff. But here's a few slots that are still open. So and the other thing is, if somebody turns out to be very interested in one of the subjects that I put on the list there, they want to get to talk about that. So we're going to have our thoughts moving forward, starting again. Does anybody have any questions or comments at this point?
Great. Yes, not regarding that, but I did have kind of this concern if you pick up the gavel that's laying out there and look at it. Yeah, just look at it. And if that's the same gavel, I don't know what you see.
Yeah,
Well, if you can, they're small.
this looks like it from 1878. It says Richard, President, there's some more Abraham Lincoln.
Originally, years ago, there was it had all time, all the law these men you see here. Yeah. That plaque's been missing. And a lot of people, you know, in the Zoom meeting. I mentioned John, and John was not aware of a plaque that existed, but that's part of the history of the club. And Bruce, I think, probably, interior of the kind of part of the history and gathering.
No, I'm not. The comment was I happen to have some leftover documents that included some of the stuff that we're looking for.
The art badges.
Well, actually,
But that plaque, if anybody knows of it, it needs to go with that county. Maybe be an old fogey, but whenever I told you, well, that was part of everything that's passed on. The wood palm, the plaque, the down. I'm here for one of the characters.
Well, thank you for that. We may need to do the treasury report.
Oh, yeah. Business meeting minutes
first. I'll turn it over to you, Ken.
Okay, I'll ask the question. Are there any additions or changes to the minutes that were published in the newsletter? Okay, if not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those say no. Motion passes. Treasurer's report. Balance forward, $19,218.12. I have these renewals as they went in as deposits. So 3 renewals for 60 hours, 2 for 40, 3 more for 60. A $2 donation, that was somebody who actually paid by check and made it 22 instead of 20. So I had to get back to him and say, what would you like to do with $2? You want me to send it to you or donate it? And 4 more dues for 80, which brings the total deposits to $240. We had to pay $25 to the state of Virginia for our being a corporation. We had to refund $22 for the one person that signed up for the general class that was canceled because we only had one person. And for the website that the club is now on, we paid $42.88. So the good news is we made $240 some and we paid $89.88 out. So we got a balance of $19,370.24. And I have one new member that joined, Greg Miller, call sign K2GTM. He's an extra. Can I have a motion to move to accept him as a member? Second? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed, nay? Member accepted. I think that's all.
So I guess we don't. I just turn around the president here and, let's see, get it down here, see, so anything else we need to cover at this point? Well, another thing I want to do is, and we can start doing this, you know, we used to have a show and tell things like that, and so what I want to do is ask people, what have you done on radio this week? You can contact, anything special today, for example, I was going to go to my gym, and there was a big car accident in front of it. So I drove down to Ruggiest Landing, it's parked on the river there, and I had my mobile radio there with me on 17 meters, and It's amazing once you get away from buildings, how quiet it is. So I worked at Plymouth Station in Florida, I worked with a guy in France, so it's fun. I just enjoy doing that. It's one of these opportunities where if you have the radio with you, you can do it. So anybody else making any team contacts or?
Yeah, I talked to a guy in Montreal, and he had an outstanding accent, but anyway, he said my voice wasn't very punchy. He said, well, how's your compression? I said, I don't know, I'll check it. He said, no, that's not it. Turned out my compression was turned off. Turn compression on, watch the meter go take off. I've been contacting people like crazy ever since.
And the other thing is, for those of you who operate HF, we are being blessed again with good sunspots. So just about every afternoon, you can hear people on 10 meters. I hear a lot of people from the Caribbean, from South America. And then you should also check out 12 meters, there's people on there, not as crowded, and 15 and 18, but there's a lot. I think things are looking good for making HF contacts. With I have 100 watts of wire, you don't need a huge station to do that. So I think it's exciting time, and to live through these another good sunspots like. Go ahead.
This afternoon, I was playing around with, I'm not gonna turn on my big radio. I got that cheap little thing that can, well, I can't remember.
You bid X? Micro bid X or?
No, it's even cheaper than that. And it only puts out 5 watts, so I plugged it into my end code. And I made 12 photo contacts on 14. In less than an hour, it was absolutely crystal clear. And I'm putting out 5 watts. They were recording 5, 7, 5. They had.
How it happened with good propagation. The other thing to keep in mind, and I probably think you require operating skills. So if you're working in a station as a pilot, and all these huge stations are in there, you have to time your call. With all the noise, throw your call. There's something about that, so you can still, eviction work on that. It's like fishing, they would call it catching, you caught something every time. So in ham radio, is you kind of try, if you work every station, you talk to them, you can't, so. That's what I
All that, 2 or 3 days, so I got.
the QRP is a challenge, it feels great when you get it on.
And so if you say that before we are in QRP, the last few years. And John, you may want to finish when the
I made a bunch of them, I made 9 kilos. You bid X running about 4 watts into a 40-meter dipole, actually a multi-band dipole. I was able to get a guy in Cuba and get a 5.9 out of it. But I've also filled up 2 pages in my log in the last couple of weeks.
That's fun stuff that I want to decide.
Bill, you had something? Bill?
Yeah, I love working QRP, and I've got it set up, I can throw it in the car and put a very low triple mag mount and a Wolverine coil. We did Fox Hunt for Powhatan a couple months back. We won, yay. But anyway, while we're waiting for others to arrive and stuff, I set up my stuff, put it on the roof, and actually we started making some photo contacts. We had 6 people there that were general and veteran, and we all got in a line. You know, we worked. I got another operator, and the guy said, "Gosh, you guys are worried, you almost activated the all by yourselves."
The other thing I want to do is to try to operate from here during meetings. Now, apparently there's coax already running down.
There's a 20 meter out there, that hole. I think there's a 20 meter back hole.
What I was thinking is, we could throw up a 80 meter infit, because by this time of year, those are going to be the band of rubber, and run some coax down here, to the church and operate. And that way, people who have not had to operate, they can see what these radios do, what this button do, what that one do, just to familiarize itself, like you increase their people's enjoyment. So that's what I want. Go ahead. I don't know.
I'm Dave, I'm new as well, and I love it, I'm here as well.
This is your first time?
Second time in person here, and usually on Zoom. Drew Monacoda and some of the guys I've met, as we traveled from Kingsport for 7 months to get our new home up in Mosley, Virginia.
I'm looking for some assistance, being in an HOA, some of you guys are there. I brought some information in, trying to hook up some antennas, stuff under the attic isn't working. And so there's someone here this evening that's into, antennas. I'm using a Hustler antenna.
How did you be the ones that emailed me?
Okay, yeah. Well, the question I've got after the antenna is looking at the ground system to it. All right, to the rig. And I brought an article that came from, Flex Radio. Right. They're talking about using coax, that you put a capacitor on one end, run it down to the ground. Because I'm up on the second floor. Right. So I'd like to share that, get some thoughts before.
Now, I guess you're talking about the RF ground, and what I was, it's come from you, but started that Hustler, it was a ground radius.
Yeah.
Because without those, it's gonna be very inefficient. Now, grounding, there are issues involving grounding from the second floor, because the ground wire could be resonant somewhere, and so that's a dodging issue, but,
Let me share with you, after the meeting, I think, this is an interesting article called RF compressor ground system.
I don't know what that is.
That's the one that Flex put out, right?
Yeah,
Use that, yeah.
now there's people that imitate it and all that.
Yeah, that's
So we're gonna want the one ground, the DC ground, not necessarily. Be aware of.
We want to see if anybody on Zoom has a particular experience they want to.
Yeah, any experiences or questions?
Okay.
I just have a
Go ahead, Rob.
So I work in the studio, I have my radio set up in there and I work all the time by myself. And sometimes I put music on, but since I got that turned on, I just scan around and I just listen to people's conversations and it's just really great. I heard these two guys talking the other day for about an hour and a half on chili recipes, and I ended up with 2 chili recipes. I think it's just about anything you want to recipe. So I posted did not plan like, I mean, we're the only family who watches Food Network, and then we go and try to cook stuff. But, you know, it never entered my mind that I would come in and say, hey, I got 2 new chili recipes from family. Anybody else?
Let's see if anybody is good on Zoom has got anything. Any experiences or no?
Good contacts.
I'm finding out it's hard to follow people there at the church.
Yeah, it's always been a problem of mine.
You can't hear? Okay.
Yeah, we hear mumbling.
Oh,
And the mic is turned this way, right? Yeah, we gotta be more, Bruce, his leadership has also suggested that we need a floor director. To kind of move people around during these, virtual meetings. I think that's probably a good idea to make sure somebody has a microphone. I think they don't follow. Absolutely.
yeah, good.
Anyway,
I think we may have to get an autofocus camera too.
there are ways to do it, but we have to be cognizant of the fact that, there's still a virtual presence, even though I like to see people in person. And we used to see Dwayne in person.
That come in and bring a hamburger, Dwayne.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
My name is Judy.
Oh, what?
Something like that going on. Bill and I will definitely attend, but I'm volunteering Bill development center.
It's not hard to show something on the tree. I'm the high priest of that antenna. And it requires one high support there. And the slingshot. And they're comparatively loaded miracle whips and sport loads antennas, they're much more efficient than bringing the cycle. And particularly operating QRP, you get more bang for your buck with a resident antenna. If you compromise antennas and QRP sidebands are not good common.
Could we start up some Saturday?
Probably have to speak up to all the points you determine.
I can do that, I can help.
But anybody who wants to be through with one of these fields, if it's in, I think.
Right?
We were talking about
Yeah, you and I were, but people who are interested in, have a hot interest in things and they want to help other people learn about it, and by all means, share that knowledge, because we have, I bet in this room, we got knowledge about everything. And we just don't know who knows what. I'm trying to correlate your name with a specialty.
Does RARC have a target alcohol?
I don't know.
We have two calls on from you. We have trustee for, so. Rick, I think we need to have some of you all who are on, watching us on Zoom, talk about, send a note about some of the things that did and didn't work at this meeting. I know, it looks like we're gonna get an autofocus camera, we may have to do something with the microphone.
Right, we get caught up when we don't, we're not mindful of.
Right, well, no, we just gotta figure out,
Right.
you know, from them what we need to make this work better, so. All right. So, do you have anything else you want to tell? Yes.
So, I know Alan couldn't be here tonight, but let's go on, we are running the meeting testing tomorrow at the Bonnet Library. Don't know who's coming, but
Okay.
we'll be there.
And Bruce, since Ken isn't here, he's the lead builder, just a comment, Armin and I are building the ultimate regenerative receivers, and this is an ongoing, what are we at now, 3 years, Armin?
No, yeah, more than that, could be 3 years you do.
So, yeah, we're finding old functions that are extremely challenging, so in fact, I have a load of capacitors coming in now, so we can share those. So
This place that John gets on, somewhere down.
I mean, yes, because anything ready to get John is a good source of information, but for those interested in building I don't prefer building operating, and I like this stuff, so. I like tubes stuff, I like to know the tubes, as well as the tubes. I just understand about this. But, one of these days, and I hope to be able to show you a finished product. A working finished product. Especially it does. Absolutely.
Anything else you want to,
Thank you.
you get to end it.
All right. All right, over now. Running
Okay, so next month,
people are gonna bring in their junk to do waste over trade. And then I'm gonna, on the newsletter, I'm gonna put in my little questionnaire. Just to find out what people.
say it again to the microphone, these look at the year.
Next month, we are encouraging people to bring in gear if they want to give away, or trade or sell. I don't know how formal that's gonna be. We can put it in the back section. I have a Christmas party this year to do that. And then in the newsletter, I'm gonna put my survey or questionnaire. And what you people could do would be just to email me. I'm gonna expect an answer to every question. If there's something that someone had expertise in, or they want to learn about, or they want to teach, you can just send that to me an email at the president. Already never seen that. And then and I think it would be a good idea to come up with directly in some form that correlates calls, contact information with areas of expertise. Yeah, that was if somebody wants to, I want to learn about that, here's the go-to guy. That's first of all, identify that some people. I like to put up an antenna if someone needs help with that. But I think.
Need a motion to adjourn.
I do have a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
That's-
Aye.